I kind of wanted to cover more of your story. So if you can just give like a quick background of who you are and what you do right now, and then we can start from kind of like the beginning.
All right. Well, right now I am the top person in my chosen field, which is numerology and astrology. It got damn near 1 billion views on TikTok and all those other IG programs in the past 9-10 months. I only started this year. I've been at this for about 2 decades. And what I basically promote is very simple, the truth. Now, most people can say that, but my stuff is the universal truth because mine is mathematics. And mathematics, in my opinion, is God's language. So that's basically what I do. I help people interpret numerology, which is basically a way to decode exactly what someone's personality is, what they're going to be doing in life, if they're going to be successful, if they're going to have money, if they're going to have a successful marriage. Things like that can be told by numerology and astrology, because I believe this is all virtual reality. And then in the day, in the virtual reality, you have to have cheat codes, just like in video games.
Nice.
And those cheat codes are numerology and astrology.
So you've been in Miami for this year, but before that, you were living in Ohio. Where were you born and how did you end up in Ohio?
I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. That's it. I mean, it's, you know, a decent sized city. It's a Midwest, Rust Belt, hard-working town. You know, it's far from Miami. People over there are making, you know, minimum wage to an average job. In Cleveland, if you're making like, you know, $60,000 a year, you can make it and you could probably live a decent life. In Miami, you can't do that in 100K. So, you know, the cost of living is very low, and just hard-working people there. Ordinary, hard-working people. Not too many people, you know, come from Ohio and get famous. We have a lot of presidents, though, so a lot of geniuses come from Ohio. But with the exception of maybe Logan Paul and the Paul brothers, not too many people have came from Ohio or mainstream.
Did you grow up with 2 parents?
Yes, of course. And that's why I always tell people, that's why I'm privileged. Not because of this, skin color, not because I'm Jewish. If anything, that held me back. I'm privileged because I had 2 parents, and that is a privilege that most people in society today don't have.
And the neighborhood that you grew up in, was it like a nicer neighborhood?
I would say lower middle class. Like, you know, I didn't go hungry, but, you know, we definitely were not middle class. You know, I had cockroaches growing through my toys and stuff like that. You know, it was normal. Me, the toys, and cockroaches. But, you know, my dad came from the Soviet Union, again, modern day Russia, and he got here in the 70s. He basically got out of communist Russia, and he made sure his kids were born in this country. And because they were born in this country, I had the opportunity that I would not have had in the other countries to actually make something of myself. And thankful that he went all that way to help out his sons. And I can only be appreciative if I actually show the same type of gratitude to my sons. Pass it down.
And were you raised in any type of religion, spirituality, any type of thing like that?
My dad would occasionally take me to temple, but we're not really one of those families that don't, you know, take phone calls on Saturdays and don't use, like, you know, we're not doing anything like that. My dad definitely thought Jews were superior than most. I'm not sure if I have the same viewpoint, but I will say this, I think Jews are extremely intelligent. If you compare that to the rest of society, and I don't care how that sounds. Didn't say better, but very intelligent. It was not very religious, but he would definitely tell me about God. And, you know, I remember my dad used to tell me, you know, I can't prove it, but I think there's like a secret group of men who are running this world from behind the scenes. That's what he told me way decades ago. And it turned out he was right.
And when it comes to like public schooling, regular education, did you enjoy it? Did you perform well? Did you
no, I actually did not perform well in public schools. I thought the teachers were trying to dumb me down. Example, like in 4th and 5th grade, I remember they used to always tell me, show your math work, show your, multiplication, show your division, show all that stuff. I can do that stuff in my head. Why do I need to slow this stuff down? And I remember they failed me. I got all their answers right, but I didn't show my work, so they're trying to say I copied. So I stayed after school. They gave me the same test. I didn't show the work, and I got all the answers right again. And at that point, I realized the public school system is there to hold down people. Why would they want someone who's operating at a higher level, at a higher frequency, to come down? Why would they not encourage that type of behavior? So again, I was very young when I realized that. I mean, even when I was 13, I remember watching Bill Clinton lie to the American people. And, look at this. I was always watching the State of the Union at 13, 14. Other kids are playing video games. I'm looking at this guy. I'm like, wow, this guy's a really good liar. And other people got to know he's lying too. But, up and down the applause. So, even he taught me something, that if you're really, really good at something and you can't really show anything, you could be a politician and just lie. So, they called him Slick Willie?
I've heard the term, but I never knew what it meant.
Yeah. It is what it is. Bill Clinton is the bastard child of the Rockefellers. And that's why he keeps losing to Obama, who's connected with the Rothschilds. And Rothschilds here, Rockefellers here. And if you don't know how that works, in 2000, when Chase Manhattan merged with JP Morgan, that was basically the Rockefellers bending the knee to the Rothschilds, because that was the Rockefellers bank, and they merged and then became Chase, which is the Rothschilds bank. So again, you got to know, these people who run the world, they're like gangsters, right? And they'll fight amongst themselves, but if anyone tries to damage their core game, oh, they're coming for you. They all come together, and then they holler at you.
When was the first time that you came across any type of astrology, numerology, and did it pique your interest?
Chinese restaurant.
What age?
Fuck, dude. I don't remember the age, but I remember knowing I'm a Capricorn and liking it. Didn't know why. I know I liked it. And as I studied, further, and, as I got older, I remember a lot of Roman history was one of my first loves. And a lot of Roman emperors who happened to be Capricorns put Capricorn in the back of the money. So, it tells you something. Some people are very proud of their skin color, even though they had nothing to do with it. Some people are very proud of having daddy's money, even though they had nothing to do with it. Some people are proud of their astrology sign. Voila.
And when did you start to delve deeper into researching this stuff and understanding?
9/11. 9/11, by far. Before that, I knew enough not to trust the government. I knew that much. But I didn't think anything of, McDonald's having a big M and them symbolizing the big M. I didn't think that was a big deal. Why would I? Or Marathon gas station or M&M's candy. I didn't think that was a big deal. Why would I? As I, started looking into numerology, I understood that M is 13, and that signifies homage to the 13 bloodline illuminating families. It's all over the place. Go on your computers and put in all the movies that start with 13. 13 Warriors, 13 Ghosts. It's like fucking 30 of them. Then start looking at Ladder 49 or 6 Days, 7 Nights. This shit's a joke. I already mentioned the sports teams, the 76ers, 7-6, 13, 49ers. So it's all over if you look at it. And the system that's always in the court system, always in religion, always in astrology, it's all the same. It's 12 plus 1. 12 jurors, 1 judge, legally. Religious, Jesus, 12 apostles. Astrology, sun, 12 signs. Come on. It's everywhere. What do you think, this is a coincidence? And if you understand, if you have enough up here, which I don't think you have to have much, but if you have enough up here to understand this is not a coincidence, that tells you people who know a lot more than you, if you're going to be honest with yourself, are actually using this stuff. Start asking yourself why, start getting curious, and then things might start coming together for you.
At this point, 2001, you were already an adult. What were you doing kind of to sustain yourself at this point from, you know, the point of 18 to when you started?
I used to go to auctions and buy Ford Tauruses for $300 and then flip them for $1,000 to $1,500. I did stuff like that. I remember every Thursday to Erie, Pennsylvania, and I'd dig up, $3,000. And that would be good. And I'd take some of my friends out there with me so they can help me drive the cars back. Just make a quick lick here and there. Sustain myself. Sold marijuana. It is what it is. Never any drugs, because marijuana is not a drug. And remember, in the year 2023, now the government is allowing people to sell marijuana because they can put their tax on it. Back then, they weren't so evolved. They didn't figure out they can make more money off taxes than they could actually arresting people and getting money in fines. So I lived in an era where they used to arrest you for smoking weed. They would arrest you for anything. Now, have I ever been arrested for selling weed? Hell no. They never got me because I'm a numerologist. As a numerologist, I knew what days not to hustle. All right. So 4 is the number of law and order, okay? I was so on it that if someone had a 4 in their fucking license plate, peace, I ain't going with you. Because you have a higher chance of getting pulled over, and I kid you not, that shit saved me at least 3 trips to jail. Doing stuff like that. Oh, wait a second. What's your birthday? Oh, you're in your enemy year? Nah, dog, I ain't getting in the car with you. I'm sorry if you find that shit offensive. I don't give a fuck. People thought I was fucking crazy. I'm like, you for real, dude? I'm like, yeah, I'm for real. They thought I was kidding. They thought this was all like some kind of joke and shit. No, I'm for real. And then you should have heard the laughs in 2001, 2002 when people said, there is no way you're ever going to make a living off this shit. Because I told people I'm going to make a living off this. And they said, you're fucking crazy. And I still remember the way they laughed. The funny part is, some of those people who were laughing back then are asking me for money now.
So you never even decided to take the path of 9 to 5, regular job, company. That was.
I mean, I had jobs like that. Worked at a gas station when I was younger. Charlie's Sub. I mean, when I was really young. But no, that shit wasn't for me, man. I was more of the type, well, I want to be a capitalist, invest, and take money out. That's how capitalism works. Like, for instance, I would buy a car for $300, $350. No kidding you. 20 years ago, you could buy a running car that had at least 20, 30,000 miles left, and a Ford Taurus that was born like 1993 Ford Taurus. You could buy that shit for $300, $400, pay some taxes, $500, and then sell that shit for $1,500. And back then, $1,000 was money. You could literally sustain yourself with $1,500. Yeah, $1,500, $1,400 in 2001, 2002. So again, make enough money, and I just basically studied for about 3-4 years. I remember I used to joke with people that I spent more money in books than they did on drugs. Because I used to buy books and books, and that was a mistake. I'm going to admit, that was a mistake.
Why?
The reason that was a mistake is because these people who wrote the books, they just copied and pasted from someone else. They had no actual evidence what they believe in. There's no factual evidence. Like, for instance, when people say, what does Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant have in common? I can say they're both 11s. I can say Michael Jordan 2/17, 1963 adds up to 29, 2 and 9 is 11. I say Kobe's born 8/23, 1978 adds up to 38, 3 and 8. I can say that's what they have in common. They both have that killer instinct. These people can't do that. There's no correlation. It's basically, trust me. Oh, when this is in alignment, trust me. I didn't even trust my fucking self. I'm the own biggest skeptic at this. That's why I can convince so many people, because I'm the biggest skeptic there is. Show me this shit works. And I don't believe it has to be perfect. Now, the reason it's imperfect is because the practitioner is wrong, including me. I'm the best in the world at it, but even Steph Curry misses free throws sometimes. So again, it's the practitioner who fucks up. Has nothing to do with the basketball itself. So the system itself is probably 99.9999% perfect. Nothing's 100%, but if you notice, 99.99 mirrors itself. Boom, 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 boom. So it's like a never-ending story. So I believe this is the closest thing to perfection there is. And when someone shows me a better system, I'll follow them. Haven't seen it yet. Don't tell me about your Bible, your Quran, your Torah. I ain't trying to hear about that, man. Most people who are into religion, they try to prove the Bible with what is in the Bible. Nah, dude, I don't think so. You prove the Bible is real with stuff outside the Bible, not inside. Same thing with the Quran, same thing with the Torah. At least the Quran hasn't been rewritten like 1,000 times. So it is what it is.
Because I wanted to ask you that question because 2000, now there's more of a movement where people are like, yo, don't go to college or don't take the traditional path. It's kind of become a marketing scheme. But back then, people were looking at you crazy. They're either like, yo, are you going to the military? Or you're destined to...
Not to mention I had a felony on me. I hit a cop.
What was the story behind it?
They came to my house and they knocked real fucking loud. I felt disrespected. Then, because I was, kind of sleeping and shit. I'm like, who the fuck is knocking on my door like that? I fucking opened and just fucking started swinging. And that dude, he took a L. The problem is the 4 people were with them plus the dog because they came for a warrant. They kind of whooped my ass pretty well. And I always tell people, if I ever run for president, when I run for president, I'll turn a negative into a positive, and I'll make sure that police record from '98 gets me half the black vote.
That's a good one. So when did you start feeling like, okay, I've got a handle of this numerology stuff and getting your first people to pay you for what you were doing?
So what I would do first is about 2002, because I was really just practicing 2001. 2002, I would really start going up to people, yo, what's your birthday? And I just start spitting. Is this real? Is this real? Is this real? And then when I went up to at least 1,000 people and I started getting the hang of this, I'm like, okay, so this fits with this person, this fits with this person. And then I was able to distinguish how to add energies, because it's not just numerology, it's astrology, because all the numerologists were just doing numerology. All the astrologers were just doing astrology. I merged. No one did that before. That's why I'm like the first one up here. I merged the two. And I'm not big enough to take over astrology. No one ever said I was. I might be a big name in astrology, but there's so many fucking astrologers. Most of them are fraudulent women who've been divorced 3 times. They're going to sell you matchmaking advice. But when it comes down to it, isn't it funny that this is a woman's game, numerology and astrology? But it took a man to make it famous? You broads couldn't even do that right. Just think about it. If you think of famous psychics, who do you think of? Nostradamus?
Yeah.
Rasputin? Gary the Numbers guy? I can't think of any other women. But again, you guys are filled with this stuff. The problem with women who do this stuff is the same thing in life. They have no accountability. I'll give you an example. I was talking to one female astrologer, and she said she was doing a wedding. And she told me about this woman, how this woman's Venus was in this, her Jupiter was in this, everything about her. And then after 20 minutes of listening to this complete nonsense, I'm trying not to fall asleep, I asked her, what about the man? And I kid you not, she's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So she's doing matchmaking advice, but she's just looking at it from one person's perspective. That's so asinine. The other thing I noticed coming up in numerology and astrology, because after 2001, I started practicing more on people. 2002, no, that's 2002. I was practicing more on people. I started buying a lot of books. And by the end of 2002, I realized there's something here. There's something really here, but it's not in the books. This is garbage. Because I see some shit as matching, and it's the shit I just noticed by myself. But the stuff that's in the books is not matching. So I made the decision after a year, pretty much into this, we're throwing the books away. Then I went to the so-called Grand Masters of the day. Whew. The people who are in there for like 40, 50 years, 60, 70, year old people. And, they would spit some game, not very charismatic. I understand why they didn't blow up. Had some knowledge, no doubt. But I'm looking at them, and just one thing keeps coming in the back of my head. Because I'm young, and I want to know these things. If you're so good at what you do, why the fuck are you broke? That's the same. I keep going back to that. And then I'm thinking, well, wait a second. Maybe they're just on a spiritual path and money doesn't mean anything to them, because that's the answer most of these people will give you anyway. But then as you start thinking about it more and more, you start understanding, well, wait a second. Yeah, spirituality matters. Having a strong family matters. Having healthy kids matters. But we live on a materialistic plane. Am I wrong? This is a materialistic plane, right?
Yeah. So
to basically say all materialism is evil, that's a mistake. No poor man ever changed the world while he was alive. A couple pulled it off when they were dead. Jesus, a few others. But no one ever pulled that off when you were alive. So what that basically tells me is you have to have balance. It's like that 8, turn it 90 degrees, infinity. But infinity is about balance, the spiritual and the material. And what I realized was these people were frauds. Because if you're going to be telling people, yo, if you open a business on this day, you're going to make money, but you're broke yourself, I don't give a fuck what your excuse is, you're a fraud. Done. Last case was a woman named Allison. And I told you, Allison, I told you 10 years ago, any chance I get to shit on you, I will. Any chance I get to destroy your legacy, I will. Because remember when I told you a decade ago, I was going to be the one to make numerology mainstream. Not you, bitch. So again, I promised you. I promised I'd never forget you. I keep my word. This broad, she was at her for, I don't know, like 40 years. 3 divorces, right? And I remember I asked her 2 things. First, I asked her, Allison, 8's the number of money, right? She's like, yeah. I'm like, why don't you price your products in 8s? Why is it $25? Why is it $50? Why isn't it $53? Why isn't it $80? 45 seconds, silence. After that, she tells me, oh, I never thought about that. Really? The same thing I basically made famous in the past 10 years. Now everyone's pricing their products in 8s. I mean, you've seen it. Yeah. Even people who say they don't believe in this are pricing all their products in 8s or paying people on the 28th. Hi, War Room. Hi, Andrew Tate. Tell people why you're paying people on the 28th. Tell them it's a lucky number. Why don't you? Again, a lot of people are doing it, but going back to her, she said she never thought about it. I'm like, whoa, I'm talking to the wrong person. I'm literally talking to the wrong person. Afterwards, I confronted her one time because I was getting sick of this shit. She asked me to promote one of her books. I'm like, man, this is garbage. I'm like, fine, I'll promote your book. Answer one question to me. You've been divorced 3 times. Don't you think it's fraudulent for you to sell matchmaking advice? Her exact words were, I'm experienced at it. Really? And then when I pressed her, she said, I hate women. No accountability, no nothing. At that point, I cut everyone off. I'm doing this by myself.